There's a chorus to a Katy Perry song, which, from the perspective of text setting, is a little weird. Before we listen to it, I want to explain some basic ideas for how to set a text to melody. Then you'll be able to fully appreciate why that chorus sounds so unusual. Considering that the song was successful despite its text setting, the obvious follow up question is, does text setting even matter? I'm not going to be discussing how a text's meaning interacts with musical meaning. That's a rich and complex topic for another time. The central component of musical text setting I'll be discussing here is the idea of accent. In language, some syllables receive more emphasis than others, and I'll refer to this as stress. But in music, the idea of accent is more complicated because there are several parameters that can be musically accented. A dynamic accent refers to notes being louder than others. In this example, the first, sixth, and ninth notes are accented dynamically. Accent in terms of pitch contour refers to notes that are a local high point or low point relative to other notes around them. In this phrase of Angel Band by William Bradbury and arranged by Shawn Kirchner, notice how there's a local high point on the downbeat of the second measure, because that note is higher than the note just before and the note just after it. There's another type of accent here if we think about the duration of notes. The quarter notes in the first measure don't last as long as the notes in the following measures, so we can say that those two long notes are accented in terms of duration. In this excerpt, performed by the spectacular Ghostlight chorus, listen for how these two musical parameters, pitch and duration, add emphasis to certain notes. These parameters for accent are meaningful, but by far the most important type of accent for the purposes of text setting is metric accent. In music, there's a hierarchy of beats, and notes that fall on a beat will have more metric accent than ones that are between beats. Notes that fall on the first beat have more accent than notes that fall on other beats. Keep in mind that all types of accent are relative measures, meaning they depend on context. For metric accent, a note on beat 2 might be metrically accented relative to notes between beats, but it might be unaccented relative to a note on the downbeat. From the perspective of text setting, metric accent is the most important, and most of the time, metric accent should align with the stressed syllables in the text. Keep in mind that stressed syllables don't always have to align with metric accent every single time, but in cases when they don't, try to aim for another form of musical accent to bring out the strong syllables. To see how these accents interact in language and in music, let's look at the text of Angel Band by Jefferson Haskell. For the one-syllable words, emphasis can change the meaning of the text. For example, I know I'm near has a different meaning than I know I'm near. Neither of these is correct, they're just different. But I want to focus on the two-syllable words, where there is usually a syllable which should be accented in spoken English. The words holy, kindred, Jordans, and crossing should all stress the first syllable of the word. If you want a really straightforward and comfortable text setting, you can put most of those on strong beats. And that's how William Bradbury's tune, arranged here by Shawn Kirchner, has its text set. Strong syllables have metric accent by occurring on the first beat of the meter. They have duration accent by being longer than the second syllable of the word. Dynamic accents will be a matter of performance, whether or not the singers make those syllables louder. In this recording by Ghostlight, listen for how comfortable this fully aligned text setting is because strong syllables align with musical accent. You don't have to always align linguistic stress with metric accent. When a stressed syllable is not metrically accented, it can either be awkward or it can create syncopation. And usually the difference between awkward versus syncopated is a matter of another musical parameter contributing to musical accent. Notice in Lin-Manuel Miranda's song Alexander Hamilton that strong syllables mostly align with strong beats. However, the strong syllable in the word forgotten does not have metric accent. Instead, it has accent in terms of dynamics by being louder and in terms of duration by being held longer. When strong syllables don't align with meter, the other forms of musical accent align with text accent so that it sounds purposeful. The syncopation adds interest to this text setting.
How does a bastard, orphan, son of a whore and a Scotsman, dropped in the middle of a forgotten spot in the Caribbean by providence and poverty?
Now let's start with the word unconditionally, to think about how we might set it to a melody. The primary stress is on the third syllable, and there's also some stress on the first syllable as well. Unconditionally. To set this to a melody and have a comfortable, fully aligned text setting, I'd recommend putting those stressed syllables on strong beats to give them metric accent. Or if you wanted to create some syncopation, try to emphasize them according to another musical parameter, such as duration or dynamics. Now look at how Katy Perry's song, which was co-written by Max Martin and Dr. Luke, sets that text to melody. And it should now be apparent why this text setting is a bit unusual. The fourth syllable gets all the musical accent: meter, duration, contour, and dynamics. The problem is not that there's some misalignment between the text and music. The difficulty is that nothing in the music aligns with that strong syllable.
Unconditional, unconditionally, I will love you unconditionally.
So the text setting for the song Unconditionally is uncomfortable, and I'm open to the idea that this could be an asset. It makes the song stand out because it's unusual, interesting, and memorable, hence this video. But I think the song is also evidence that text setting alignment doesn't matter nearly as much as other parameters, like having a catchy melody, an infectious beat, and great singing. If you want to write great music, text setting is important, sure, but it just doesn't matter as much as other factors like being in tune and in time.